There was two saved on there. I didn't want to. There was two previous episodes saved on there.
Well, it's formatted now.
That's perfect.
Okay.
I've already got them downloaded. So we're on number 57.
57. So West Coast Swing on Thursdays, and then Fridays is back at the Senior Center in Reading, and they did a country two-step lesson, which I'm getting really good at the country two-step. And then they have an actual dance. They play music.
Oh,
it's a
cool.
huge dance floor. And over here in Anderson, every Tuesdays they have a dance at the Senior Center here. It's a huge one. And so I go to that one and just go dance, and I get the old ladies who their hearts just melt when I go to dance with them. You know? Like, they're like, yes, I'll dance with you. And then I get out there and they're like,
you're like fighting.
They're stiff and they want to go. They want to lead. But so I've been doing that. But I've been doing that for my movement. Circling people.
Interesting.
Light on your feet. Yeah.
How cool.
So at some point, I think I would like to talk about that one.
Let's do it.
Well, give me maybe I'll hint at it.
Okay.
But give me a little bit more time so it develops versus just like, oh, this is what I'm doing this week. And and then 2 weeks from now I stop.
You're not doing anything. Okay, that makes sense.
I can be like, oh, I've been doing this for like a month.
A month now. All right, you ready? That's going. Okay.
Phone's on silent. I need water. Okay. What are we? We're just talking. You're gonna take lead. Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk. Here we go. Okay. I hit the button before I realized it. Okay. How do I make it go to another one?
You just start and you can't delete individually. I don't think you just start and it'll just start a new track.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Ready?
Yep. A bad day for the ego is an awesome day for the soul. Friends, this is Tyler the Superhuman and Dustin. We're the Formless. Oh, Jesus Christ.
You want to stop?
Please, my brain's not working. Oh, okay. One more time. Here we go. A bad day. A bad day for the ego is an awesome day for the soul. Friends, this is the Formless Podcast, episode number 57, with Tyler, the Superhuman, and me, Dustin.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's been a day. Got a good workout in this morning. Brought all my boys down. It's awesome though. It's not raining. Weather's good. Did you see last night's sunset?
I did not.
Holy cow! It was breathtaking.
Really?
It was breathtaking. Well, you got Mount Shasta to the north and Lassen to the east, but coming up the highway last night, looking at the sunset over Mount Shasta was just it. I almost drove off the road. I was staring at it too much. It was beautiful. I haven't seen a sunset like that in a long time.
Was it like that gold pink, like
it was
golden like color?
It had just gone down behind the mountain, and it was just all different colors of purple and orange and red, and it was amazing. It was just I. Had I been in the right mind, I would have pulled over and taken a picture of it, but I was hungry. We had to go to the grocery store and get dinner. And yesterday was like the longest hard suck day. I'm really frustrated with things right now at work, and it takes nothing to be nice, And my job is super intense sometimes, and like things are moving a mile a minute. Things that were like set in stone. This is what we're doing gets changed at the last minute, and you're out in the field. You don't get to find out until after it's happened. Mm-hmm. Plans change, and it's like, oh, we're not doing that anymore. And you're like, but I had already written the order for this. Like I had 2 displays in a big store that I wasn't supposed to get. I got them. And then somebody in their corporation saw it on the security cameras and they're like, nope, those two things do not go there. We're talking 2 pallets of stuff, massive quantities, right? Those don't go there. They need to be moved. Okay. So no big deal, whatever. But I didn't find out until I already submitted my order and it's too late to change it back. And so I ordered product for the pallets that are going to hopefully be sold. So I'm going to have all this extra product. And now I've got all this product that was once on the floor, now in the back room, hogging up space. So it's just stuff like that. And you're like, it would have been nice to know that 24 hours ago when I submitted my order, just stupid arbitrary stuff.
Communication
right?
is a
yeah.
thing.
And like you call people on your team, you ask a simple question. Like I had another customer that I had submitted a work order for. Well, they called the service tech, the repair guy calls me and leaves a message on my cell phone, on my work cell phone. My personal cell phone is an Android. My work cell phone is an iPhone, and I'm not real familiar with iPhone stuff. So I accidentally deleted the voice message. Well, his phone number was on that. It's a new guy. I don't have his number. I don't have a phone list for work. And so I called the secretary, the office lady. And I'm like, hey, this is what happened. I lost the phone number. You don't have a phone list? No, I don't have a phone list. No one gave me one. Well, it was my fault.
Right,
I never needed it before. I've been here almost a year, and most people reached out to me and said, hey, you're new. Here's my phone number. Call me if you got a question. You're the person I'm supposed to call if I need help with something. Like, just 5 seconds. Give me a phone number. Shoot me a text. Whatever. It was just, it's like, it takes nothing to be nice. It's just, it's so frustrating. But anyway, it's Saturday. I don't want to talk about work. I made a pact with myself that I wouldn't talk about work, and here I am.
Yeah, it takes nothing to be nice.
Yeah. That's my motto from now on.
It takes nothing to be nice.
And we were talking about movies before we started. You were telling me some of the progress on your movies, and I have a real bad habit of watching old movies that I've seen 100 times before. If something comes on, I'm like, oh, we gotta watch this movie again, And I could recite half the lines in the movie or the scene, And one of my guilty pleasures is Roadhouse.
Ooh, okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
The Patrick Swayze one.
Yeah. Which I know way too much about. But they're also remaking it.
Yep.
And that one looks pretty good. I generally shy away from remakes. But that one looks pretty dang good. Conor McGregor's in it, and he plays a really good bad guy.
Okay. I haven't seen the trailer.
You haven't seen the trailer for it?
I've
Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor, and it looks good, I have to say.
Okay.
But anyway, one of the things in the Patrick Swayze version is it doesn't hurt that the wife likes Patrick either. So
come on, Dirty Dancing.
That goes in my favor. I just showed her that not too long ago. So.
Dirty Dancing?
Yeah, she had never seen it.
Oh wow.
So watched that one a while back. But when he first gets into the bar and he's talking with all the staff and he's firing a couple people and
right.
stuff.
He has that big meeting with everyone.
Yeah. He's like, be nice. If they're mean to you, if they call you, bad words or whatever, be nice. Be nice. Walk them to the door, but be nice. And it's kind of contrived. It's a little bit over the top, but it really it's important. You be nice until you don't need to be nice anymore. But be nice.
Yeah.
And I thought about that the other night. I did a Monday night class I was teaching, and was talking about personal responsibility and how you're training to hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're training to punch people in the face, kick them in the groin, all of those kinds of things. And just like with a concealed weapons permit, you're responsible for that. Like if you have a gun and you shoot, you're responsible for whatever that bullet hits. You need to be nice because you don't want to have to do that. You don't want to have to punch somebody in the face.
Nope.
As much as you would like to sometimes. Believe me, there's a list, but you're responsible for that. And the fact that we train, that kind of thing could go against you. You could be labeled a violent person in court, all of those things. So it falls into your benefit to be nice and be respectful. So anyway,
by being nice and being respectful, that's a way of mitigating
absolutely
violence, like you said. If you have to walk the person to the door,
walk them to the door, but be nice.
Be nice.
Yeah.
And that's trying to talk someone down. That's trying to
diffuse that situation.
The situation.
Yeah.
So
and I find that training makes me a nicer person anyway. I don't know about you, but like personally,
absolutely.
like the stresses and the things that I have going into the school versus the stresses and things that I have bothering me leaving the school are completely mitigated usually. I would say 99% of the time I'm like much more chill. Like the things that bug me don't bug me nearly as bad. The things I'm worried about don't worry me.
It's like the training harnesses our anger that we have. It's like putting a bit in a horse's mouth. And it's like our training harnesses that anger. It just harnesses it. And it's in the same way that a sail on a boat, harnesses the wind, right? It's like it redirects it.
It just like I've always described it as turning down the volume. On the garbage. Like if you ever, most people don't have a radio anymore, but like when you're searching for the station on the radio, when you used to have to turn the knob, you go through a bunch of static before you hit the radio station.
Right.
And you have to adjust it to the right spot, and then you get clean radio. But it's kind of like that. Like training is a little bit like that. Like we're searching for the harmony, we're searching for the music, and you got to go through a little bit of static first, and then you find that sweet spot. It just makes it easier to find that sweet spot.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, I find it just is, it's cool.
So much more applicable in this day and age, just with all the stuff we have to wade through,
The garbage.
Like you were saying.
Yeah. Like when you're in the midst of something, work discussions or a heated discussion with somebody, it's easy to get your emotions or ego in the way and like, oh, this person hurt me or I'm being threatened or whatever. And you get worked up and you find yourself like tensing up or getting anxiety over it, and it just kind of like redirects the focus.
Yes.
It just is like, oh, okay, you know what? That stuff is what I once thought was super important. Not so hot. It just kind of takes a back seat to the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and it's always you're talking about the work, right? You're talking about your work, and you have the palette of things, and they're not supposed to be there. They were telling you that it's
which was hilarious.
Yeah,
because like that's one of for each account that I have a certain number of goals or like targets that the company wants me to hit, right? And at this particular one, since day one, and I've been doing this 10 months already. Since day one, they've wanted me to put pallets out there of product to sell. And that's one of my things that I'm supposed to hit. And it's always a red mark against me or a check, like You're not doing that. You're not doing that. Well, the company didn't want it. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't force them. It's not my stuff. It's not my store. I'm just a vendor.
Right.
You know. So 4th of July, they let me do it for a weekend, which was fine, you know, big deal. But then this last one, I was supposed to have it, and I couldn't get it. And the store manager actually put the pallets out there. I didn't ask him, but I had 10 pallets of stuff in the back room from a corporate deal that my corporation and their corporation, it's hard to not name names, but
Right.
their corporations got together, two bean counters got together and made this deal. And so I had no control over it. All I could do was say, hey, you're getting all of this stuff and it's yours. You bought it. It's yours. It's coming in. There's nothing I can do about it. It's above me. So I'm like, we could do something with this. We could build a display. We could put pallets out front of stuff and, like, you know, you could get rid of it and it won't be in your back room. Nobody will be tripping over it. And they're like, nope, don't want it. So I put it all in the back room, completely filled the area up, and then we had all these other vendors coming in, bringing their stuff in.
Okay.
So the store manager's like, this is nuts. I'm taking this one and this one out to the front, and we're going to put a sign on it. I'm like, good. Right? And it was there for a week or so, and then somebody in corporate high up was like, nope, we don't want it. It's the most goofy thing ever.
So
dealing with stuff.
Yeah, so
like
part of it's communication. Like
it boils down to communication, and it's like I have to communicate with my boss about everything. Anything that doesn't go right, anything that goes right. If I sold something in that was extra, let them know. If I'm going to return something, I have to let them know. I mean, it's wild. So. And it's like hammered into you, you know. If anything goes wrong, if I make a mistake, they're like, "Why didn't you communicate this? You should have communicated. Communication is key." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, great. And one of the things that I was so bitter about is I'm like, that should go the other way too. That way I know. That way I can write a more intelligent order.
Right.
And it went sideways, and I was really upset about it.
That's so funny. It's not funny. But what is interesting is with that, it's like you're talking that training is like the radio dial.
Mm-hmm.
You find just the right frequency. It could be, 89.3. Right?
Yeah.
But if it's 89.5, if it's that much off, you might get a little bit of it, right?
But it's gonna be clouded. Yeah.
Staticky.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, staticky or whatever, white noise. But it's just that little bit off can mess up that communication, just the transmission. You know?
Absolutely. You're not getting the whole picture.
You're only getting part of it.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
That's good. I didn't think about that. But
Well, that's the first thing one of the first things I thought is, like, unless you're dialed in right on the right frequency, you're going to be getting some interference. And so it's like, and that is the transmission and aka communication.
Yeah.
I mean, transmission I would think would be, one way or two way, but yeah, very interesting. Do you ever find yourself talking to somebody like at work, like the manager of that store, and you're talking and you're all of a sudden you start feeling like you're getting upset, like you're getting emotional, you can feel your anger.
I get frustrated a lot.
Yeah.
I get frustrated a lot because every place has got their own set of rules. Some places, like, they're very lenient, some places are very strict, and this particular place has the most asinine rules and just tons of stuff that, like, you can't, no, don't do that, you can't do that. Like, we got these carts, right, to put product on, and they have 3 shelves. They're bottom deck, a middle shelf, and a top deck. You would think you should be able to use all 3 shelves.
You would think.
Right? Makes sense. It's a cart with 3 shelves on it. Why not use them? Can't put anything on top. Might fall off and hit somebody. And it's only like 5 foot high. It's not like, we're not talking like, this massive thing that's 10 foot tall and will tip over. 5 foot.
And you can't put stuff on top.
Can't put stuff on top.
Okay.
Not even temporarily. Don't get caught. But then if somebody else is in there, you can do that. if like the right managers in there, it's so bizarre. Like you just, I'll tell you about it out. I'll tell you what company it is, and you'll go, oh yeah, it is that. It's oh yeah. But yeah, you can't bring pallets onto the floor. But you can so basically, like if you break down a pallet of stuff in the back, you put it on a cart, you wheel it out, you put it on the shelf, and then you bring it back and put it back on the pallet.
Okay.
So it's like double the work. Whereas every other store, you can just bring a pallet onto the floor, throw the product on the shelf, put the pallet back, done deal, no one's having a bad day. Works for every store that I go to except for this one. And
they're the oddball.
It's so dumb. It's just there's no excuse. It's dumb. But put it this way, if that store closed today, I would be a happy person. But it's not gonna happen. Anywho, I hate talking about work.
Did we ever talk about mirror neurons? Have we talked about that?
No, I don't think so. What's that?
Mirror neurons.
Neurons, like the stuff in your brain, the electrical receptors.
I want to say yes. I've looked into this a little bit, and so I'm not very educated on what I'm gonna like this subject, but it's super interesting. Yeah, I've looked into it a little bit, but so like the neurons in our bodies are constantly mirroring the mirror neurons themselves. I think you have your neurons, and I believe you have mirror neurons, and their purpose is to mirror off of other people. And you by way of osmosis, or that's not the right term, when you will feel, your mirror neurons will mirror off of
like if somebody comes up and they're like hollering at you, like that your receptor wants to
or that's an extreme example, but like you can have somebody that maybe you're sitting there talking, having a conversation in your backyard with somebody, right? Your backyard or their backyard, and maybe all of a sudden, and you're laughing and joking, you're talking about something fun and relaxed, right? And then all of a sudden you start feeling, you're like, wait, I'm starting to feel nervous. Like, what's going on here? Like, I'm in my backyard. Like, why? Or if it's your backyard, like, and then you start feeling this feeling. You're like, but why am I feeling this? I shouldn't be feeling this nervousness. Well, it's maybe because the person you were talking to is afraid of spiders or a snake and sees on the ground that a spider or a snake, and they start getting nervous, but they don't say anything, right? Because they want to keep doing the conversation. And so they start getting nervous. And so then you start feeling, your mirror neurons will subconsciously, or I don't know if that's the right term, but they'll pick up on their nervousness, what their emotions are feeling.
Wow.
And you will start feeling what they're feeling.
Okay.
And I'm sure that the closer you are with somebody, so like a husband and wife relationship, their mirror neurons are way more in tune with each other, or should be, or probably are, than yours with a stranger are. And so another way of thinking about this is like good actors or actresses in movies. Mm-hmm. The ones that make you feel, those are the ones that everyone goes, that's a good actor, that's a good actor. So
it makes you feel sad or happy or whatever, you're feeling that emotion that they convey.
Through the mirror neurons.
Oh, wow.
But when somebody, you're like, oh, well, their acting in that movie was okay, it's because the actor themselves weren't feeling it. Therefore, their mirror neurons weren't putting out the signal of what they're feeling, and you didn't feel it through the screen.
Huh.
So in the same way, you know, when someone yawns,
sorry,
yawns are contagious, right?
Yeah.
Well, that part of that is mirror neurons. Is like if you yawn and you're feeling tired, you will then yawn, and then the person across from you or next to you or in the room will all of a sudden yawn. And so that's interesting. But I've had it happen recently where I was doing something, and all of a sudden I started feeling like I was just doing a simple task, And all of a sudden I had these feelings of anxiety start coming up, and I'm like, wait, what? I've done this before. Like,
what's going on?
What's going on? And it was because the other one of the other people in the group that I was with, they, for whatever reason, got anxious on the task we were doing. They got anxious about that task, and they started getting emotional and nervous inside. And then my mirror neurons were picking up on that subconsciously. And my conscious brain is like looking around going, why am I feeling this? Like,
yeah.
And so it was picking up on that. And I was just like, oh, and all of a sudden I realized it. And I was like, oh, this thing is making that person anxious. And so I'm feeling it. And so, so mirror neurons. So that kind of goes into when you're, like you were saying, talking with a manager. And that's why I was going in that direction of saying, oh, do you ever feel yourself getting angry at work? Because that's how two people build off each other. Is one person gets a little angry, then the other person feels it and gets a little angry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, mainly it's just frustration.
Well, and that will carry over too. Like you'll sense frustration.
Absolutely.
All these different emotions. Yeah. And so that's why that goes into the whole, when people say, I've got a gut feeling about that person, in regards to, I've got a gut feeling that person's a good person. Or I've got a gut feeling that person's not a good person. It's because they're picking up, their mirror neurons are picking up on that other individual, what they're feeling. And that's why, the whole adage of like, the older I don't know where I saw it in a movie or a book or a play where, the older person says to the younger person, well, you can lie over the phone, right? You can lie. That's why spam callers are so good, because they can lie with their voice over the phone, and the lying is in the eyes.
Yeah, right? You can't get a read on somebody generally.
And so that kind of covers that subject. What they're partially trying to say, in my opinion, is that when you can see someone, you're just getting a vibe off someone. You're feeling what they're feeling. And I was in an ice cream shop one time with a girl I was dating at a time, and we were getting ice cream, and all of a sudden she looked over and she says, her eyes kind of went wide, and she was looking kind of over my shoulder, and I turned and I looked, and two guys came walking in, and I immediately felt what she felt, and I was like, those guys are up to no good. Like they're the way they walk, the way they're dressed, the vibe they're putting out, no good. And she felt it before I did, because she saw it. She's like, I'm not getting a good vibe from them. They're bad people. And I was like, yep. As soon as I looked at them, and I was like, boom, mirror neurons. Bam.
Yeah. Wow.
So that kind of goes back to the gut feeling of somebody. You can get a gut feeling that kind of covers that area, in my opinion.
Huh.
So
very cool.
The science behind it, don't quote me on any of this. Do your own DIY, do your own research, or DIR, do your own research.
Yeah.
But that's just an interesting subject that I've paid attention to recently. And so that kind of goes into what we talked about with a certain instructor, where a certain instructor gave a great piece of advice where they said, well, if in a sparring match, if I have a plan in my head where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to fake a round kick and then I'm going to do a back fist, right?
Yeah.
That if you have that plan and that picture in your mind, you are subconsciously communicating that, and they'll probably pick up on that. And so that's kind of the same thing. That's the same general idea.
That's like jazz music.
Like
I just went off on a whole nother tangent, but what you were talking about, like having that preset
plan, yeah.
That's what music is, right? You're reading the notes, or you memorize the notes and you play the music the way it's written.
Okay. I'm not a musician.
Okay.
So
but jazz, jazz is more like good jazz. Jazz is more like, okay, here's the music, but we're gonna each take this and improvise over the top of it. So this is more like a general guide. It's not set in stone. So the key might be in E or whatever. We're going to play over the top of it. Somebody's going to play these notes to keep everybody on the ground. Like this is where we're at right here. But like the saxophone player or the trumpet player is going to play a solo over the top of it, and they're going to go wherever,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to play whatever they want as long as they keep an eye on this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So it's like there's a loose plan, but it's not like set in stone. It's like, okay, we're gonna play up over here, and we're gonna dabble in here, and then we're gonna come back down here, and then we're gonna go over here, you know, and it's yeah, I don't know. I'm getting somewhere with that, but I don't know exactly where I'm going.
No, I know. But you're all kind of like in sync. You're all kind of reading off of each other.
Exactly, but it allows for them to improvise, but they have an anchor. They have something that like if they get too far out in the weeds, they can come back. Right.
Yeah.
A good one will come back. You know.
And then he'll lead the others back.
Yeah,
right.
And then they'll take turns.
Right.
And they're like, okay, now it's your turn, and you go and go off into the weeds, and then you come back, and then the next guy goes off into the weeds and comes back. I happen to like jazz a lot if the mood strikes me. But it's interesting. It's almost it's a lot like martial arts in a way. Like, you know, when you first start, you're just learning the fundamentals, right? And you're doing the fundamentals, and you do those and do those and do those until you don't even have to think about it.
Right.
So you may have a plan in the beginning, but eventually you find out that plan is telegraphed to everyone.
Yeah.
Right. Either consciously or subconsciously, and then it's like, okay, now I need to start experimenting. I need to not have a plan, or I need to have a loose plan or something that I can adapt from. And I think that's the key.
The key.
Like, I think that's where it gets really interesting, because like we're sparring today, and we're like working on specific things, but the specific things we were working on were abstract. Like, we're working on combination, okay, 3-4 hit combinations, and then so the first thing we did was like it was three punches. Okay, so we had 3 direct things. So you're going to do a jab, a cross, and a round, or jab, cross, hook. Okay, and then, so that we drilled that for a while. Then it was like, okay, come up with one. Just go. Or it might have been like, okay, lead off the jab and then throw 2 other punches. And then it was like, go for it, see what happens, kind of thing. And that to me was like jazz, right? So like we started with the foundational thing: jab, cross, hook, jab, cross, round, whatever. And then we took one away, and then we took another one away, and then it was like, okay, go, do your thing. And it was fun because you could see like some of the people that had not done that before, they're still working that jab, cross, hook. Well, that becomes predictable to the guy who's been practicing it and knows what to expect. I know what's coming next.
Cross, hook.
I know what's coming next. After that jab, the cross comes. After that cross, the hook comes, and I can counter that, right? But when we've taken all of those rules away, now it's like, okay, well, what's coming first? What is it even going to be a jab?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, which hand is it?
Yeah. So we were left, right, left. But what if it goes left, left, right, or that kind of thing? So that's where, to me, that's where it gets fun. That's where, like, okay, now I can if I can let go, if I'm in the right frame of mind and just let go, and I can be in that moment and see what happens. That's what I'm looking for,
Yeah, that's such a sweet spot to be. That is to just. It is such a beautiful spot to be, to go in, and you don't. To go in and not have a plan, but you don't get there by being a white belt. You have to.
Yeah, you don't get there by not practicing.
You only get there by practicing. It's like the more you practice, the more you let go.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, and you have to have had a handful of tools mastered.
Yeah.
Or not. You have to be proficient in a handful of tools to really pull that off, I think.
brushing our teeth, right? We've done it so
many
much.
times.
We brush out, we whip out the toothbrush, and we're just like, oh, I'm gonna brush my teeth, and I'm gonna listen to music. You don't even think about brushing your teeth.
Yeah, but the dentist still goes, oh, you missed the spot over here.
Yeah,
Right?
right. Yeah, and
it's not a perfect form yet.
Yeah, yeah, right. No, but that I really like that mirror neurons, and that's another way to get a feeling on something, you know, and we can feel like if somebody's tired, we can feel if they're angry, we can feel if they're nervous. Like I'll catch myself, like maybe I'm talking to somebody I haven't talked to in years, and maybe I'm not as comfortable talking to them, you know, as I used to be, and I have to, and I can feel I'm getting a little like uncomfortable, so now I can feel them getting uncomfortable. But maybe they started getting uncomfortable first, and you know, and it's like, well, who started? Where did that feeling start? And then it just kind of built off each other. And but that's another avenue, and that translates, I think, into sparring. Have you ever done that in sparring where you just for whatever reason somebody threw some move and you blocked it perfectly? You just knew it was coming. It's happened a couple times to me.
You've had those moments where like you know, it's almost like they told you what they were going to do before they did it.
Yeah, that's got to be mirror neurons and being in that moment and being present. But at some point, some little thing
happened.
Well, some little thing telegraphed that. You know, when one of the other black belts that we tested with, there was one day when we were getting ready, we were training for our black belt test, and him and I were sparring. And when we got done, he was like, hey, watch out. Every time you're going to do an uppercut body, you telegraph with your right fist. You rotate your fist just a little bit right before you do it. And he's like, and he was right. He blocked it like 2 or 3 times in that sparring match because he saw my fist rotate just a little bit enough to prepare for that uppercut body. And he was like, boom, and he knew. And I was like, ooh, man, I don't want to telegraph that.
Yeah. I had a thing when I was first training. I would do my hands. I would open and close my hands before I rushed in, or like before I came into range.
Yeah.
And it was totally subconscious. I had no idea that I was doing it. I was just like a nervous habit. I would just flex my hands. And somebody had pointed it out to me, and like, I know every time that you step in, because you do this, right? and it was like a huge epiphany. Like it changed the way I did things because I wasn't conscious of it at all. And I was like, well, that's why you're getting punched in the head, you know, or that's why you're taking shots. And was in turn making me nervous, which was in turn making me flex my hands even more. Ooh. So it was a real eye-opening thing.
Interesting. Yeah, that's.
And I probably would have done that forever had not somebody pointed it out to me and was like, hey, you know, let me clue you in on something, bud.
Well, that and now that you know about that flexing that hands, maybe you could go back and spar that person, and for like a couple sessions of sparring, you could do it and let them think you're falling back
into that old habit,
and then you're essentially
baiting them.
Yeah, blind baiting and being like, oh no, I got you.
Yeah.
But then the question is when you do that, my question would be, because I don't know the answer to this, if you did that flailing of the hands, you know, the fingers, before you went in, if you did it but you didn't believe it, would they believe it? It's almost like you have to believe it to really sell it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would do that in fear of like starting that bad habit up again, you know? Falling back on those bad habits.
But that might be a way of like conquering it.
Yeah.
That might be a way of working through it.
That's
and true. I'm not saying if somebody gave up smoking that you start smoking again to conquer the habit. That's not what I'm saying.
But no, use it as a bait.
Use it as a bait. So you might be able to abuse that.
Absolutely.
Abuse that tactic.
Funny. I'll try that and see what happens. That's good. That's really good. Oh man.
We gonna talk about this?
Oh yeah.
Unless you have anything else
No,
to say.
I really don't. We kind of went off on a tangent there. So friends, couple of new things here. Sensei Herb Blue out in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He runs a school with Sensei Betsy and Sensei Aaron. They have a school in Wisconsin, Green Bay. Awesome people. They're a sister school or brother school, whatever, associated with us as well. They put out a book, Wu Ying Dao Hand Workbook, and it's on Amazon, and you can find it there. Super informative if you're into training, and good stuff. I bought it on Amazon. I got it for my birthday. Super cool. It's just got all of the stuff, basically the things that we're handed as we progress through school or through classes. They've just got different all of the stuff that you need to do to promote all the different techniques you need to learn and things like that. But the interesting thing in here in the back that I really dug was there's a kicker tracker, and basically a little chart here to work on kicks and get you into that good habit of practicing every day. So I think it'd be a good thing to have for new students and for older students as well, but just to help develop some of those good habits.
Yes.
But there's also a bunch of sections in here for you to take notes. It's a workbook. It's not like a instructional guide. It's a workbook. And
it's interactive essentially.
Yeah,
writing
yeah,
stuff down. And
it's something that you would want to mark up and like take notes in and hey, work on this, or this is specific to this technique kind of thing. And really very proud of them for putting that out and very happy that they did. It's cool.
What I like about it too is we get these handouts. So for every belt, we have to test for our next belt.
Yeah.
We get blue to advanced blue or whatever. It's got everything listed that this is what you test for, and kind of like a little description on how to do it.
Yeah.
And I just really like that. I think that's really cool. And it gives the path. It shows the path you're going to go.
Yes. It's almost like not necessarily an instruction manual, but like a roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I was advancing through the ranks for Wu Ying Dao, and I wouldn't let myself look past the current belt I was at.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't want to get intimidated, and that has nothing to do with what we're talking about with this. But I didn't want to look past it and be like, oh, I've still got all this other stuff to learn.
Like you're focused on this right now.
Just this belt right now, and even sometimes the requirements for testing for the next belt, there would be multiple belt requirements on one page, and I wouldn't let myself look down at the other requirements for the next belt. But the other side of that is it's nice to be able to see, like, okay, this is the roadmap.
Yeah.
And this is so nice, and it gives a little bit of history on our art, and and he even goes into that I really liked. Basically class routine and guidelines, like what we do at the open of class, closing of class, your attire when you're late to class, how you wear your belt. He really goes into a lot of it, and I think that is really cool.
Very helpful stuff. Speaking of Wu Ying Dao, we got a school here in Anderson, Blaine Courts Total Self-Defense on McMurray Drive. We'd love to see you. If you're out there and you're interested in trying out a class, come on in. Mark, the guy who edits our podcast, puts the awesome music on the beginning and the end. He's got a company, Web Services Media. I have personal experience with this company. They built websites for companies I've worked for, and also did some side work for him and stuff. Great guy, great company. If you have a business or have an idea for a website, definitely check them out. webservicesmedia.com.
Very cool.
They built our website.
Yes.
Also,
which looks great.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Also, we have stickers on our website for sale. Please go in there and support us so we can keep continuing to do this, and throw us a little scratch there. I don't know, anything else?
That's all I got.
Awesome. Friends, have a wonderful day. 42 minutes.
That was good.
That was good.
That was a good one.
Considering we blundered